Kunta wondered if he had gone mad. Naked, chained, shackled, he awoke on his back between two other men in a pitch darkness, full of steamy heat and the sickening stink, and a nightmarish bedlam of shirking, weeping, praying, and vomiting. He could feel and smell his own vomit on his chest and belly. His whole body was one spasm of pain from the beatings he had received in the 4 days since his capture. But the place where the hot iron had been put between his shoulders hurt the most. Jump! Shouted the oldest woman suddenly in Mandinka. She was of about the range of Kunta's mother, Binta. Bounding out, she began jumping herself. Jump! She cried shrilly again, glaring at the girls and children, and they jumped as she did. Jump to kill Tubob. She she shrieked, her quick eyes flashing at the naked men, her arms and hands darting in the movements of the warrior's dance. And then, as her meaning sank home, one after another, shackled pair of men began a weak stumbling, hopping up and down, their chains clanking against the deck. With his head down, Kunta saw the welter of hopping, welter of hopping feet and legs, feeling his own legs rubbery under him as his breath came in gasps. Then the singing of the every, uh, then the singing of the woman, then the singing of the woman was joined by the girls. It was a happy sound, but the words they sang told how these horrible Tubob had taken every woman into the dark corners of the canoe each night and used them like dogs. Tubob Pa, kill Tubob. They shrugged, they shrieked with smiles and laughter. The naked, jumping man, the naked, jumping men joined in. Tubob Pa, even the Tubob were grinning now, some of them clapping their hands with pleasure. The above two portions that I just read, these portions are from chapters 34 and 36 of Alex Haley's much celebrated book Roots, the saga of an American family. This book explores the African heritage of the author and exposes what? It exposes a very dark chapter of humanity, the slave trade. In vivid details, it shows how those who thought it was their duty to civilize the rest of the world would go hunting for slaves in Africa in coordination with local traders in the 18th century, cram them in ships and by chaining them, commit unimaginable brutality if the captives fail to fall in line, sexually exploit women and girls, force the slaves to work the fields in the United States of America, and even sell even sell those people in the market, just like commodities. Fast forward 2025. Fast forward 2025. Those still shouldering the residual task of civilizing the rest of the world no longer traverse the world anymore in those vessels. In fact, they don't have to. On the contrary, millions of people from the third world. Is the term global south more palatable? I wonder. Millions of people from this less developed world seek to move to proverbial lands of milk and honey, to the United States in particular. According to the United Nations World Migration Report 2024, there were 280 million international migrants, which accounts for approximately 3.5% of the global population. This is an increase from 2.8% in the year 2000. The number of international migrants has risen by 2.8% compared to the year 2000. For this report, the United Nations World Migration Report 2024, India is the origin of the largest number of international migrants in the world, touching nearly 18 million. It is also the most populous country in the world. As of May 2024, the total number of overseas Indians worldwide was approximately 35.42 million, which includes about 15.85 million non-resident Indians and nearly 19.57 million individuals of Indian origin, that is PIOs, that is people of Indian origin, according to India's Ministry of External Affairs, that is India's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. India has surpassed China to become the world's most populous country, with an estimated population reaching 1.4286 billion, according to the United Nations Population Fund 2023. This is based on the UNFPA data of the year 2023. With this country, the world's most populous country, also leads the world in terms of immigration. Per data from India's Ministry of External Affairs, the top 10 destinations for the Indians are the United States. Overseas Indian population there is 54 lakh 9,062, followed by the United Arab Emirates, which has overseas Indian population of 35 lakh 68,848. Malaysia, with the overseas Indian population of 29 lakh 14,127. Canada, that has the overseas Indian population of 28 lakh 75,954, Saudi Arabia 24 lakh 63,509, Myanmar, which has the overseas Indian population of 29 lakh 14,127, the United Kingdom, it has the overseas Indian population of 18 lakh 64,318, South Africa, which has the overseas Indian population of 17 lakh, Sri Lanka, with the overseas Indian population of 16 lakh 7,500, and Kuwait, which has the overseas Indian population of 9 lakh 95,528. By the way, is it not quite surprising? Is it not quite surprising to not find Nepal as one among the top 10 destinations for Indians on the move? Any idea on how many aliens enter this country, I mean Nepal, through a porous border on an average day? How many of these illegal aliens pose security threats to us, our neighbors, and the rest of the world? These are some of the open questions to the government. I hope the government bothers to respond to these questions. By the way, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. We are trying to promote citizen journalism. We have been on this journey for quite some time. And obviously, we cannot carry on without a huge subscriber base, as we are trying to promote citizen journalism, as we are trying to be your true voice. We humbly request you to subscribe to this channel, comment on our presentation, and press that like button. It will be a huge pat on the back for us. Let's continue with this presentation now. Needless to say, Nepalese are quite competent, aren't they? When it comes to migrating, of course, if not at making their own country livable. This applies to me also, by the way. I am not pointing fingers at anyone in particular. The 2024 edition of Labor Migration in Asia report, it states that among the 13 countries of origin from Asia presented in the report, Nepal recorded the highest increase in outflow migration compared to 2019. The report notes that the number of workers going abroad from Nepal increased by a whopping 102% in 2019-2023, marking the highest increase among the 13 Asian countries compared. Malaysia was the most popular destination country. Malaysia was the most popular country of destination with 219,357 Nepali migrant workers going there in 2023, whereas UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar were the top 3 destinations among the countries under the Gulf Cooperation Council. For the report, there is a significant increase in the number of Nepali workers going to Europe, Romania, which is in Europe, Croatia, which is also in Europe, Malta, Malta, I think, is in Africa, or is it Europe? And Poland, which received more than 30,000 Nepali workers in total in 2020, 2020. I mean, in total in 2022, 2023. As our government has many other important things to do, whole lot of important things to do our government has. It has its hands full, doesn't it? I was talking about the very many tasks that the government of Nepal has been doing. So let's continue along that line. As our government has many important things to do, things like staying on in power somehow, managing discourse within party folds, and politicizing each and every organ of the state, it probably does not know much about what. It does not, it probably does not know much about the number of Nepalese living and working illegally around the world, in sweatshops around the world. It does not have, perhaps, data on the number of Nepali nationals working illegally in the United States, which has begun expelling illegals after Donald Trump's election as the president, re-election as the president. As part of that campaign, the Trump administration recently flew back the first batch of around 100 Indian illegals. So this evacuation of Indian nationals illegally staying in the United States should be an eye-opener for Nepal. These 100 Indian illegals, as the United States claims, comprise uh, a small number. The United States has identified around 18,000 Indians for deportation. These people were just repatriated in shackles and handcuffs, eliciting sharp criticism of this inhuman treatment in the Indian parliament and beyond, with voices raising questions over Modi Trump friendship and cordial relations between the two countries, the United States and India. That is, these two countries that share vital forums, key forums like Quad. The images of repatriation, the images of repatriation of Indians, what does it mean for Nepal? Let's ponder over this also. The images of repatriation of men, women, and children who had chosen to leave their home country in search of what else but better opportunities, better lives elsewhere, often by paying hefty sums to traffickers, brings back some of the horrors of the slave trade of the 18th century. With all due sensibilities, with all humility, I should say this. It just bring back some of the horrors of the slave trade of like the 18th century. Dangerous treks through treacherous stretches like the Darien Gap, which often end in tragedies, prove that hungry people are easily led, with or without traffickers. As around 1,365 Nepalese await deportation from the land of the free and the home of the brave. It's time to do some soul searching. It's time for introspection for the government and for the people also. As these people await repatriation, around 1,365 Nepalese await deportation from the land of the free and the home of the brave. One wonders, one wonders if we as a people, if we the Nepalese will ever learn to be true patriots by making our political leadership, by making our political and bureaucratic leadership accountable to the people and by making it work for our individual as well as collective betterment within the country. The onus is also on us to just work within the country to contribute to the individual and collective betterment instead of always pointing fingers at Nepal's political and bureaucratic leadership. After all, the onus is on the Nepali people themselves to make these machineries, the bureaucracy, the political leadership accountable to the people, answerable to not only this generation, but also to successive generations of Nepalese. So one wonders if we will ever be true patriots by working for individual as well as collective betterment of this country. That is how one becomes a true patriot. So it is time for us to work for individual and collective betterment within the country and also at the same time make the political as well as bureaucratic leadership of this country accountable to the people, answerable to this generation as well as successive generations of Nepalese. One wonders if we as a people will ever do that continue, instead of continuing to function as what else but modern day slaves. With all due humility and all due sensibility, I must say this. This is the voice of conscience. With this remark, I wrap up this edition of Soft Talk with due apologies if I have hurt the feelings of any race, any nationality, any country. This is just my this consciousness, this flow of consciousness, this stream of consciousness to just wake up the people and take control of their destinies. That is my fervent appeal to humanity, especially to the people of the so called third world who always are in frantic search of that proverbial land of milk and honey instead of just toiling it out, sweating it out in their country instead of contributing to nation building. With this remark, I wrap up this edition of Soft Talk. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for just listening to my ramblings. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.